The following program is a production of Pioneer Public Television.
From the fertile fields of greater Minnesota to the bustling streets of the Twin Cities Metro, Minnesota 4-H is an inspiration and driving force for youth doing great things. 4-H doesn't just make leaders, it grows them.
Minnesota 4-H, Growing True Leaders, is made possible by Minnesota Farmers Union, standing for agriculture, fighting for farmers. On the web at mfu.org. Minnesota Corn Growers Association, dedicated to identifying and promoting opportunities for Minnesota corn farmers while enhancing quality of life, since 1978. For nearly 100 years, Minnesota Farm Bureau has been working to preserve, promote, and strengthen American agriculture and sharing the vision of strength and vitality for our communities.
Hi, I'm Libby Montreal, and thank you so much for joining me for this year's edition of Minnesota 4-H Growing True Leaders. It's the show that spotlights the many achievements of 4-Hers from across the state. Together, we'll be discovering the positive influence that 4-H has on our youth today.
Today we'll start in Milan, Minnesota and learn about the Navigator 4-H Club with its Well-Connected Communities project. Then I'm off to the State Fair to catch up with 4-Hers from across Minnesota to find out how 4-H is inspiring them. Three hours west of Minneapolis is the rural community of Milan, population 364. Don't let the size fool you. Milan is a tight-knit community with rich cultural diversity, an active art scene, and a very special 4-H club.
Milan Navigators Club, 4-H Club, officially became the Milan Navigators last September. We were trying to think of a name and somebody said, well, what was the Milan school mascot? And it was the Vikings. And I got to thinking, you know, a lot of the kids can't really relate to the Vikings, so I came up with the idea of, you know, well, how did the Vikings used to travel and ship? And a lot of the kids in town come from an island nation. I said, how do people get around? And they said, boat. I said, how about Milan Navigators? They're like, yeah! You know, and a lot of these kids are first generation 4-Hers, first generation Americans, and they're doing a lot of navigating in their everyday lives, navigating two cultures, you know, school, home, and so it's quite a fitting name for the club.
The Milan Navigators are one of 3 clubs in the state that were chosen for the nationwide Well-Connected Communities Initiative. As part of that grant, the Milan Navigators have organized a 5 o'clock walk on Tuesdays and Saturdays.
Our programming involves just building a healthier, better community, and the first project that the kids talked about and planned out was this 5 o'clock walk, and the reason they chose that was that it was a fairly low cost or almost no cost project.
So we just take a long walk around at 5, and we just try to get as many people as we can and try to get them out and active, and then we can end up here and play in the park.
Cultures of Health also allowed 2 navigators to go to Washington, D.C.
In the middle of February, myself and another community volunteer and the Chippewa County 4-H coordinator and then 2 high school boys from Milan got to go to Washington, D.C., and we stayed at the National 4-H Conference Center in Chevy Chase. We did a lot of workshops, networking, training on how to be health advocates for our communities. And it was a great experience for the kids, especially because they got to meet kids from all over the U.S., from all different backgrounds. It was a really special experience. And on the Sunday night, the night before we came back to Minnesota, we got to go on a nighttime tour of some of the memorials and monuments in Washington, D.C., and that was great, yeah.
The Milan Navigators are making a difference in their community, all thanks to their involvement in 4-H.
What do you enjoy about being in 4-H?
Helping the community and each other. I enjoy most about 4-H is the projects, have fun. Your friends get to go there and you're used to the people around you, helping people.
4-H got me involved in a lot of community activities and stuff like that, being around with friends and helping other people around our town.
I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, my health for better living, for my family, my club, my community, my country, and my world.
Minnesota 4-H has more than 60,000 members across 1,600 clubs in all 87 counties. So what better way to catch up with 4-Hers from across the state than right here at the Great Minnesota Get Together? I hope you brought your walking shoes because we've got a lot of ground to cover. Let's go.
The livestock barns at the fair are a great place to see all kinds of critters. And where there are animals, you'll find dedicated 4-Hers providing diligent care. I swung into the poultry barn and was immediately drawn to Mallory and her rabbit Nate.
All right, so my name is Mallory Boone. I have been in the 4-H Rabbit Project for about 10 years now, and I've been attending the Minnesota State Fair since I was eligible. This year, I showed my Netherland Dwarf Nate. He's about a year and a half old, and we competed in the Netherland Dwarf Senior Buck class. We also competed in the showmanship class as well.
Okay, so State Fair obviously is just one small, tiny piece of the 4-H puzzle, right? So what else do you do throughout the year in 4-H?
So I am very involved in my 4-H Rabbit Project Development Committee. I am currently the vice chair of that, but I frequently alternate with a few other kids in the chair position as well. So my primary responsibility with that is coordinating events and just organizing things, planning things, so we can educate all of the 4-Hers in Olmsted County to be at their peak performance for state.
Wow, that's impressive. So you inspire those kids then to really do their best and give them tools that they need to be successful. So what kinds of programs are you doing with these kids?
So we run several different programs throughout the course of the year. We have primarily showmanship clinics where we teach the kids how to handle their animals properly, help them with general knowledge of all rabbits, and we also do kind of just an informational clinic in the winter where we discuss things like nutrition and grooming and what to bring to the fair and what to expect.
So with 4-H, being that you've been so involved and have worked with so many kids, it sounds like from, well, not just kids, but very young to old in your responsibilities. Can you tell me what's been the moment for you, or what's been some of the great things that 4-H has given you that's going to help you throughout the rest of your life?
So, in my opinion, the most important thing that 4-H has taught me is public speaking. When I first started showing, I was extremely shy, had a hard time talking to people, and just kind of like to, stay within myself. I'm very social now. I love to go around and talk to people. I love to educate other kids. I love to help them any way I can, and just kind of share with them the 4-H Rabbit Project because it's been such an impact on my life.
It's great to see Mallory's passion for the Rabbit Project and her willingness to help others with their rabbits too. 4-H projects have always been the key to helping youth uncover their interest and teaching valuable life skills. In Owen's case, that project would be showing sheep.
This is Debbie, or when she's naughty, Deborah. She's my February Weather Dam ewe lamb. She was born in Farmington, Minnesota, and was bought by people in Ellswood, Wisconsin, who I now lease her from.
Well, that's fantastic. So tell me, you seem like a really driven person. Can you tell me if there's a specific time or moment or person in your life that's really driven you or inspired you to be here and do your best?
My parents, especially my dad, when he was young, he had a lot of successes in 4-H, so trying to live up to what he's done and trying to surpass it and trying to get better than him. And he's always said, especially when I don't do as good or I don't win, just there's always next year. You can always keep trying harder and keep going and going.
That's exactly right, because 4-H isn't about the ribbon, right?
Yeah.
4-H is about the journey and the fun and the experience. So speaking of that, can you tell us a little bit about what 4-H has taught you? What would you say?
Teamwork, hard work pays off, and just being responsible for like an animal or being responsible for your project, because it isn't just have the sheep, bring it to state fair. It's the workup, it's the working with the sheep, feeding the sheep, watering the sheep, making sure that sheep is healthy, making sure your project is good. It's teamwork, because here at the state fair as a county we work together at the state fair. It's just not individual. And hard work pays off, because I've worked with Debbie a lot, and
Yeah, it looks like
my successes have come along.
Well, I have to hand it to you. Debbie is amazing. She did very well in judging, and what I like best is that you've learned so much from the project, and you've learned so much from 4-H. Commitment, putting in time, and hard work are the attributes found in 4-Hers. Longtime member Leighton Becker was recently crowned Minnesota Pork Ambassador. I asked him how his time in 4-H has helped him excel. We're here with newly crowned Pork Ambassador Leighton Becker. Leighton, I want to find out more about your experience and your background in 4-H. What got you here?
So I've been in 4-H for around 13 years. I started off, actually, it was kind of a fun story, right, like before you could do it, you're called a clover bud, before you can really go to the state fair. And my family had me show my dog. So throughout my entire year, I was teaching my dog how to sit, how to fetch, kind of just for fun, just to do that. And then I also, when I was really little, I showed Legos too. But it wasn't until I could start going to the state fair when we started showing pigs. And I've been showing pigs now for around 13 years, and it's been one of the greatest experiences that I've really had. Why I think 4-H has helped me so much, especially get to the place that I've gotten today, is just my ability to start and end a project. It's just one of the greatest things. You start with that pig being around 13 to 15 pounds, and you raise that all the way up to around 280. So it's an everyday process that you can't take a day off. It's one of the things you have to go hard all the time. Without you or having that responsibility kind of helped me, hey, if I don't feed this pig's not gonna eat. So it's kind of good for me, even when I was 8 years old, to learn that from a young age, and it's kind of helped me strive for a lot of things as I've gotten older. And
Now, as Minnesota Pork Ambassador, how do you want to use all those experiences to inspire others?
That's a great question. So it's kind of hit me when I got it. I didn't really know. I knew I wanted it. I knew it would be an awesome experience to network with people, and it really hasn't hit me. Well, it hit me yesterday of just like the impact that I have the chance to do. A lot of people don't really know, like they used to, of where their food came from. When I go up to people in my chemistry classes or my math classes or English classes that, hey, my name's Leighton Becker, I'm a pig farmer from southern Minnesota. A lot of them, I've had the full array of spectrum, from people like, oh, that's awesome, I love bacon, bacon wrapped is awesome. And I'm like, heck yeah, I can vibe with this guy. But then you also get the opposite spectrum, and you kind of it helps me realize that, hey, not everybody knows, and it's helped me and sat with me really deeply to help myself, to help try to get everybody to just get a basic knowledge. They don't need to know how many parodies this sow has or the numbers behind it, just that they know that there's caring farmers that are producing their pork for them, and that so they can get away from all the negative connotations of just agriculture as a whole, and to use my voice and my face and body just to be out there, be on the front lines, and kind of advocate for agriculture as a whole.
4-Hers are influencers. They make a positive difference wherever they go or wherever they serve. 13-year veteran Emma is in her final year of 4-H and has taken on various leadership responsibilities.
So through 4-H, I show livestock and non-livestock projects, but also I have different leadership roles within the county and club level. I've held various positions from my club level, like president, vice president. I've also been president of our county fair board. So I've held a lot of those different roles, which gave me opportunity to talk with adults and learn how to run a meeting and just be that person in that leadership role. So yeah.
So what was the feedback of the adults on the Fair Board? Because Fair Board can be sort of a very political thing to be part of.
Yeah, it is, and it's good. I'm glad that they involve the kids because that gives us an opportunity to know this is our fair. We get to be the ones that are helping decide what we're doing and what's going on during that time, and just it makes us feel like we at least have the same responsibilities that they do. So I think that's a really good thing for us.
Is there a specific person or moment or experience that really has inspired you?
Well, I guess what inspires me is just knowing there's other kids that are looking up to me when I'm out there in the ring or when I'm taking care of my animals. I mean, there's always someone younger that's watching you, and my saying that I really like is, there's someone watching you, so be the best that you can always be, just because they're going to want to look up to you and be like you when they're older too. So just to make sure that you're doing your best so that they do their best as well.
After being in the barns all morning, I decided to get outside for a bit. The crowds continue to pass by, but even among the thousands of people, I find a group of 4-H'ers grilling away by the side of the Coliseum. One of those grillers was Simon from Wright County. Simon is heavily involved with the poultry project and is a candidate for Poultry Prince.
Probably all started with my dad, actually. He had chickens. We just had some laying hens for eggs. And then it just sort of expanded and grew as we came to the fair and we saw these birds, and then we would want to have them and we would want to show them. So that would grow and continue, and now we have more birds than we can count and so many varieties.
So what would you do as a Poultry Prince?
Well, part of the obligation is I do more interviews kind of like this, as well as I go in a couple parades and just sort of be the face of the poultry industry, at least for Golden Plum.
Very cool. So that takes a lot of public speaking. It takes a lot of confidence. What kinds of other skills did you learn in 4-H?
Well, it definitely comes from knowledge about some random things like birds and sheep and beef and all that stuff. But yeah, definitely public speaking, and I learned from doing skits and share the fun, and confidence just comes from doing stuff like this.
Public speaking and performing on stage are a couple of the benefits of being a 4-H'er. Back in the poultry barns, I met Isaac and his turkey Thanksgiving. Besides showing his turkey, Isaac was involved with directing a special arts project in his home county. So we met the turkey. Tell me about some of the other things. Some of the other things you've done in 4-H are so cool.
In 4-H, I was a student director for a group called Arts In, and pretty much in that, I got to choreograph a song and teach it to kids 2nd grade through 5th grade and 6th grade through graduating 4-H members. And then we dance and perform every day at the county fair, and it's a blast, and we perform 2 days at the state fair.
So if you are, maybe someone's not interested in getting involved in 4-H, showing their turkey or showing their pig, and want to do something else, maybe they have interest in the arts. Is that something that they could do? Did they need any experience going into it?
No, most of the kids don't know how to dance before. So we teach them how to do jazz squares. It's just a general dance move. And it's really fun. We teach you the dances. It's basic moves, so anybody can do it. There's 32 kids in it. So it's an overall great experience.
The diversity in project categories and ways to express yourself is one of the unique attributes of 4-H. Having talked performing arts with both Simon and Isaac, I was eager to find some performers at the 4-H building. When I arrived, the sounds of a beautiful harp duet by Flavia and Carrie rose above the soft murmurs of the crowd inside. have the opportunity to be here today with two of the most talented and beautiful young ladies on the fairgrounds. I'd like for you guys to introduce yourself and to give us just a little bit of background.
Hi, I'm Flavia Correa. I'm 14 and I'm from Martin County. I got into 4-H because my dad has been in 4-H for like a lot of his life, and I heard about the shooting sports there. So I originally joined archery, but then moved on to do like performing arts and fine arts.
So, and what about you, my dear?
My name is Carrie Warmcutt, and I'm 14, and I joined 4-H because I wanted to be able to play the harp here and enjoy State Fair.
Well, have you so far?
Yes.
Well, I have to tell you, we had a little sample of what you can do, and it is amazing, ladies, absolutely amazing. So you don't just have a passion for playing the harp, also violin, is that right?
Yeah, I also played the violin, drums, guitar, and piano, so it's a lot.
How did you pick harp?
When I got into 6th grade, I was looking through all the instruments that you could do for orchestra, and I decided that I didn't want to play any of them, and I wanted to play the harp, and for some reason my parents said yes. So
I can't imagine they would say no. So, so I've got a question for you. So now not only are you incredibly musically talented, but you both have interests beyond that too. You're starting to plan out your life and figuring out your passions and what you're good at and what you like to do. So I understand that you have a love of science and medicine.
Yes, ever since I was a little girl, I've always wanted to be in the medical field, and I enjoy science a lot. It's probably one of my favorite classes.
So what in particular, what kind of medicine would you like to go into?
I would like to be an obstetrician, which, I mean, there's not very many female obstetricians right now, so I want to be one of them. So,
well, that sounds like a good plan. And I have to ask you, since you're so new to 4-H, what have you thought so far?
I think it's really great, and I think it really brings everyone together so you can meet new people and have lots of fun.
And isn't that the point, right? And for you, my dear, I understand that you have a love of technology. Tell us more about that.
Originally I wanted to get into graphic design, but I looked at the pay for that and I was not too happy. So in the end I kind of decided, I looked into software programming, and it's like that's a place where like I can learn a bunch of new stuff, I can get into like some new areas and also practice my art if I were to go into video game design.
I've loved getting to talk with so many 4-Hers today. So many young people inspired and so many inspiring others. There were so many stories to tell that we couldn't fit them all in one show. So be sure to visit pioneer.org/4H to watch those interviews and today's show. As I was saying, Minnesota 4-H is a strong community dedicated to helping one another. We're especially grateful to the help of Minnesota 4-H leadership. I was lucky to meet with the interim director of Minnesota 4-H, Jennifer Scusa. Could you tell us a little bit about where you came from and your 4-H experiences as a kid?
Absolutely. I grew up in Benton County. So for those of you who don't know, that's in central Minnesota. And the town that I grew up in was Sauk Rapids. And I was a very active 4-H member at that time. My whole family was. And that's really where it all began. And then once I graduated from graduate school, I became an extension educator and kind of moving up the ranks ever since.
And so, as an extension educator, just for people who may not know, you work in the different counties. So the county that you worked in, you get to work one-on-one with these kids, and you get to see them change and grow and develop in 4-H. What are some of the great things that you've seen throughout your life?
Well, I started my work with the University of Minnesota and Brown County, which is in southwestern Minnesota. And I also worked in Lyon County. And I started my work in the 1990s. And what was really interesting back then is when that southwestern part of Minnesota really had people moving in who were new, who were coming from different parts of the United States or maybe even from different parts of the world. And so we had a huge immigrant as well as migrant population. And really that was the beginning of my 4-H adult experience, is when we were using the 4-H experience to really be a place where young people could learn about this new culture that they're living in now. So it was really a rich start to my career.
So now that you are in this position and you have a real opportunity to sort of step back and take a look and have dreams and aspirations and actually do something about it, what are your dreams for this program?
You know, I see the 4-H Youth Development Program as really being a pathway or even a gateway for young people to really experience the world. It's a chance for them to dig into their passions or even to find out what their passions are, whether it's horticulture, whether it's animal science, whether it's global connections, or perhaps it's even computer programming, whatever it might be, but to dig in, to go deep into their learning, and then in that process to really discover their leadership, because then they get an opportunity to talk about their learning and then to share it with others and to teach others and to really be an advocate on a particular issue perhaps, or really just informed. And it's really a wonderful experience to see young people really achieve that, and I really just hope for more of that in the future. And perhaps even a pathway into their career or into their whatever they want to do after high school. 4-H can help guide that way.
Minnesota 4-H is part of the University of Minnesota Extension System. Dean of Extension Bev Durgan was excited to share her 4-H experiences.
One of the most influential people you'll run into here at our fair and our program is Bev Durgan, and I'm just going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself and tell these folks a little bit about what you do.
Okay, great, Libby, thanks. I am Dean of University of Minnesota Extension, and 4-H is one of our signature programs in Extension, and we are very proud to have all of these young people as part of our program.
So I understand that you come from a long history of 4-H. So tell us a little bit more about your background and what 4-H has really meant to you.
Yes, so I am a third generation 4-Her. So I grew up in Montana and I showed cattle at the Montana State Fairs. I was a 4-Her for 9 years before I came here to University of Minnesota Extension.
So when you were a 4-Her and when you were growing up within the program, do you remember any particular pivotal moment that really changed your life or got you going on that path?
So I think the one thing I remember the most about 4-H is that I grew up in a very rural part of Montana, very small country school, and when I went to college, it was interesting. You could tell the 4-Hers who could speak in public, 4-Hers kind of know each other, and so I think it was really the place where I learned where I wanted to be, and I was a first generation college student too, so I would not have gone to college if it wasn't for 4-H, because I went my senior year in high school I was a junior leader there. They called them junior leaders, not ambassadors. And I stayed at Montana State, stayed in the dorm, and it was one of those things that said, you know what, I think I can do this. And I think that's what 4-H is about here, is that giving these youth an opportunity to say, you know what, I can do this. And that's really what is inspiring to me, is to see these kids just moving forward and knowing that they're going to be successful. And that's what it's really all about.
So talking about moving forward, let's talk about that for just a moment. As you see this program develop and change with the times, what are your visions or hopes for our program as we move forward?
So, 4-H is a place where kids can do what they want to do. So right now at the fair, we see all of our livestock, and agriculture is really our core of our 4-H programs. But go to the 4-H building and you'll see the performing arts, you'll see photography, and you'll see our STEM programs. And in 4-H, we allow the youth to decide what they want to do. So you can build a club around rabbits, you can build a club around STEM, you can build a club around performing arts, and it's really what you want to do, and that is what makes 4-H special, is that it enables the youth to really excel at what they're interested in.
Pretty special to see how Minnesota 4-H inspires young people to do amazing things. I know many alumni who look back fondly on their time in the organization, even years after they've graduated. And who knows, they might even be like me and keep on helping out in some way or another. My name is Libby Montreal. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope to see you next year on Minnesota 4-H, Growing True Leaders.
Minnesota 4-H, Growing True Leaders, is made possible by Minnesota Farmers Union, standing for agriculture, fighting for farmers. On the web at mfu.org. Minnesota Corn Growers Association, dedicated to identifying and promoting opportunities for Minnesota corn farmers while enhancing quality of life. Since 1978. For nearly 100 years, Minnesota Farm Bureau has been working to preserve, promote, and strengthen American agriculture and sharing the vision of strength and vitality for our communities.